Why did you end up popping your balloon for him?
He seems like volatile, dangerous. Like if I were to say like I'm not interested or something, he might accost me.
What?
Accost me, like
attack you,
belittle me, or put me down if I like. It seems like you're not good with like a negative comment.
How you get that?
Yeah,
Where you gather that from?
And first of all,
where's your evidence for that?
accost doesn't just mean accost could also have the connotation of physicality.
Yeah.
Like that's the one. Like so already, I'm not liking it because why are you using hyperbole to talk about how he may treat you and immediately going to violence
with no basis of anything pertaining to that because
right.
It doesn't even show. He's having conversation.
It's clear that maybe what he said was something negative about the prior people, but what does that mean?
Right. It's called criticism.
You.
No, not at all, sweetheart.
Okay, well, see, that's that.
See what?
Sweetheart. Yeah, I just.
That's terms of endearment.
That's all.
Sweetheart means he's gonna accost you?
Right.
As far as you,
okay, bitch.
You was straight. You was alright. But you got your own opinion. Can't knock you for it.
I could knock you for it.
That's right.
And you said she's straight. Does that mean she's someone that you would approach?
Not with that attitude.
Probably.
Based
Never.
off looks, maybe, yes, but...
All right.
And after I heard you talk...
Now she's facing 16 years in prison for falsely accusing
Ooh!
of trying to extort two different men. One of the guys she tried to falsely
What?
accuse is named Trevor Bauer. This man used to be a major...
No, go back. Go back and hear what he say now. What bro say? What he say?
Okay, cool. Well,
And now she's facing 16 years in prison for falsely accusing and trying to extort two different men.
Ooh,
One of the
wait.
guys she tried to falsely accuse is named Trevor Bauer. This man used to be a Major League Baseball
Yep.
pitcher, and he hasn't played a game since 2021 because of false accusations, and he proved both of them were wrong. But he's a victim of the mindset of guilty until proven innocent.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
sometimes, even if you prove your innocence, you still get punished
And
as
you-
if you're guilty.
and you
This
still don't
man
get your
lost
shit
millions
back.
of dollars
This is why I
and
don't
can't
like
play
that.
the sport that he dedicated his entire life to just because of two false accusers.
One of the women who accused me of sexual assault just got indicted for committing felony fraud against me. Imagine that. Let me catch up to speed. In the last 3 years, 2 women have taken legal action against me. Lindsey Hill started all this. You may remember her from this video as the girl who set me up and lied to the world in an attempt to take my money.
Before he keeps telling the story, just to add a little context, the first girl who falsely accused him was named Lindsey Hill. Here's the story.
Next victim, star pitcher for the Dodgers. A text Lindsey Hill sent to a friend before she ever even met me. What should I steal? She asked another, in reference to visiting my house for the first time. The answer? Take his money. So how might that work?
Deserving of
Wednesday, she said.
Deserving of a fucking uppercut. Straight to the gulag.
I'm telling you something. This type of predatory fucking CIA theft setup.
You need your ass beat.
Like, when he finds this out, what's the argument for why he shouldn't black your fucking eye? Huh? What's the argument for that?
You're a threat. You are a threat. You know how men take out threats?
With violence.
And I'm all for it.
You're a damn robber, bitch. I'm going to his house Wednesday. I already have my hooks in. What in tarnation?
Nah, you really need yourself. You need a beat down.
Everybody's a
8-count
victim.
Stomp.
And this, wait till you hear what she said, because she still, I think she ended up getting $300,000 from, not from him, but from her insurance company or something like that, associated with this situation. Even though these are the text messages that are out and the evidence that's been presented, which is why he was not charged with a crime. That's the thing you ultimately always have to look at with these lawsuits for sexual misconduct. Was there ever criminal charges filed? And if there were never criminal charges filed, you should be very suspicious about the allegations. Mm-hmm. Why? Because it takes nothing to call the police. The police would love nothing more than to catch you. So...
well, that's their job, so...
right, and the other thing is that if you're guilty criminally, necessarily you would be guilty civilly.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you're proving the same set of facts, and the burden of proof is far lower in civil court. Mm-hmm. So if you were able to make the burden in criminal court, you certainly would make by de facto, you make the burden in civil court.
Yeah.
You almost don't even have to retry the case, because the liability has already been proven without explaining law and res judicata and all this bullshit, without explaining this shit to you people. If your guilt is determined in criminal court for something like this. You could make a motion in civil court for the court to consider the issue decided in terms of your liability. That is decided already by a court and under a higher burden of proof. So there's no reason to redo this again.
Right.
So the only thing that would have to be litigated in civil court would be damages. How much you should pay. But whether you should pay would be a foregone conclusion. So whenever you see there's never a reason not to call the police. Never. And in fact, the police can hold on to them.
Yeah.
Make sure they don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Make sure they can't be unavailable to show up for court. Nothing like that. But instead, that never happens. You always just see civil case, civil case, civil case, civil case. Why is that? Why is that? Why didn't you just call the police too?
Because they want that moolah.
Number one, because they want the money. That's the main driving force for this. And number two, because they know their bullshit allegations will not hold up in court.
Because there was no crime.
Right. It's just they hope that when they file these bogus lawsuits that you will settle before, rather than going through the embarrassment of having the trial and having to explain if something did happen and parse out that while it did happen, it was consensual. Rather than having to go through all that, the reputation damage, and having to pay for their lawyer, they simply settle the case, which economically and politically, for the purposes of their reputation, that might make sense. I am a lawyer, so I give these same type of fucking evaluations all the time. You didn't do it, but it'll cost you less to settle it than to go through all this shit to prove you didn't do it.
Yeah.
And less reputationally, because once we've got to fight back and forth, it's gonna be in the news. Like all that shit.
It's understandable.
Right, but it's something that people know, and that's why they file these bullshit ass lawsuits in the first place. So whenever I see there's no criminal case, I know you on bullshit already.
Yeah, because they always go for, like you said, the civil.
Right.
Civil.
Why not call the police? If the statute of limitations is not up civilly, it's not up criminally either. Call the police.
Because there was never any harm done to these women who are boohoo crying and lying.
Of course not. Because I want some money, but first I want them to do something to you. Like, what are you talking about? I want them to catch you first and put you in jail. Then I can sue you. The money's not going anywhere. That house you own, the cars you own, all that shit you own, it's your bank account is still there, whether you're in prison or not. So there's no reason not to summon the authorities.
Yeah.
I already have my hooks in. You know how I roll. Then, after the first time we met, net worth is 51 mil, she said. Bitch, you better secure the bag, was the response. But how is she going to do that? Need daddy to choke me out, she said. Being an absolute whore to try to get in on his 51 million. Read another
This
text.
is
In a
fucking
separate
disgusting.
agreement, Hill's insurance company, which had covered her defense, will pay her $300,000 record show. In a statement, Hill's lawyer, Brian Friedman, called it an outstanding resolution for Lindsey, saying neither Lindsey nor anyone on her behalf paid anything to Bauer,
good.
not a single dollar.
Good.
Even better,
No.
Lindsey received $300,000 from
Lindsey is
her
her.
insurance company. Based on that payment, Lindsey agreed to settle the lawsuit.
Yeah, but they said she never paid anything to Bauer, and Bauer, Trevor Bauer, who is the victim as far as I'm concerned. He never paid anything to her either.
Well, I'm glad he never paid anything to her. That's what I'm saying.
Right, but she still got some money out of telling this lying ass fucking story.
Yeah, that's the issue.
If I was her insurance company, I wouldn't have paid this shit. I would have took her to court. You're lying.
Yeah.
And it's
I don't
obvious you're
understand how
lying.
that happened. Like, why?
Without, I don't know. I have to look into it closely. But maybe she has some type of insurance policy that covers shit like this.
Interesting.
But hell
Hill
no.
said in an interview with The Post, despite Bauer's claims that she plotted to derail his career for financial gain, her allegations were never about money. I'm finally free from his grip, and to be able to move forward with my life is better than anything money could ever give me, truly.
I'm telling you, these liars are so sick. This is mental illness. Because go ahead.
Because you didn't show any physical or emotional damages that he did to you. So for you to say that out of his grip, free from out of his grip.
What grip?
What
bro?
grip?
What grip?
And it was a short-lived relations that you had with him.
What grip? Again, everybody is now an abuser. And all the women are always victims no matter what. Like, how do you have this paragraph, the shit you wrote, how does that jive with the text messages you sent?
That too.
I would love nothing more than to cross-examine a bitch like this. What are you talking about? Yeah? So this is what you said, free from his grip? So why'd you write these text messages?
Yeah.
Make that make sense to me. The 51 million, I got my hooks in, get his money, steal. Where'd that come from? Well, you'd get torn to pieces. And that's why you couldn't even file a lawsuit. You couldn't continue the lawsuit.
Again,
she dropped it. You couldn't continue the lawsuit. That's how you know they would have killed you in court.
Coddling women. Just coddling them when the evidence is clearly right there.
It's just nasty, bro.
The fact that she didn't get a punishment and actually got
Nothing.
$300,000 for falsely accusing a man is crazy. And then
Right.
she's gonna try to say it wasn't all about money. He never got proven guilty, so the only thing she got from this situation was $300,000, and she's saying she's happy because she gets to move on with her life.
Yeah,
Sounds like it
'cause
was
the
about
money.
money
And
to
the
me.
only other one, Darcy Esemonu, has been criminally indicted for committing felony fraud against me and another man. So now she's facing up to 16 years in prison.
Good.
Her claims are even more absurd than Lindsay's were, so here's some of the details. We had one plain sexual encounter in December of 2020. Nothing that could be considered remotely rough. She initiated it, but don't take my word for it, take hers. This is a picture and text message she sent me the next morning explaining why she came on to me. And from
Oh my
months
God.
afterwards, she repeatedly requested to sleep with me again. For example, this text from January 7th, 2021. At one point, she even requested a sample of my sperm so she could have my child whenever she wanted to in the future. Now, it's hard to keep track, but she's made at least 4 7-figure demands of
Listen to me.
I love it here. I love it.
Listen to me. If a woman is coming after somebody who is rich like that, it's only for the money.
Of course.
Plain and simple.
And
Because
then she said, "Let me get the sperm for what? So you could
because
ask him to put him on child support."
Literally, there is sperm banks. Granted, costs money, but guess what? So does that child.
No, but you know the difference with the sperm
It's always
bank is
about the money.
you don't know who they belong to, and you can't go after them for child support.
Right. That's why. Reverting back to what I was saying, it's all about the money.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the money.
That's fucking sick, bro. That's absolutely sick.
over the last few years. More than a year after the one time we slept together, and only after Lindsey Hill made up her false allegations, Madonna retained a lawyer. She then demanded $3.6 million and claimed I forced her to have an abortion, leaving her emotionally devastated and irretrievably damaged by it.
I hate
Here's
it.
the thing, she never had an abortion because she was never even pregnant, and that's corroborated by her own medical records. When I refused to pay her the $3.6 million she was asking for, she made up a bogus sexual assault claim and filed a civil suit against me. In that version of her story, she claimed, for the first time by the way, that there was non-consensual sex, but her texts from the next morning show what actually happened. Remember this text in which she explains why she came on to me? And she also claims that instead of an abortion, she actually had a miscarriage, but that's impossible, of course, because again, she was
There's
never
no
even
test.
pregnant.
Right.
Yeah.
Corroborate that.
Between her and the first 2 law firms that dropped her, in which they acknowledged they never had any evidence to support her claims, but they'll try to get my money anyway. I then shared an audio recording I have in which Adonna.
Yep. AKA just what I said earlier is that they admit, yeah, we don't have any evidence, but we're still gonna go through the lawsuit. So settle? You wanna settle? That's standard lawyer behavior, bro.
That's ridiculous.
You acknowledge deficiencies in your case and say, okay, we'll settle it for this. So they point out more deficiencies, you're like, you lowered the number, okay, we'll settle it for this. They only after you push back completely are they like, okay, we'll dismiss the case. Like, because they know the case is dog shit. And at a certain point, as a lawyer, you have an ethical obligation to not pursue frivolous lawsuits.
Yeah, like I don't understand why they would though.
Asks me for money.
Because they're ambulance
Emails,
chasers.
her lawyers agreed that that's insurmountable evidence, and they informed Madonna that they can no longer represent her unless she can provide documentation or proof of her claims.
Yep.
And of course, she couldn't do that,
Cause-
so the law firm urged her to consult other law
Sorry.
firms with.
That letter had to be from a millennial. Hugs?
Yeah.
Hugs?
Yeah, a millennial at the law firm talking about, hey, listen, you out of here.
What you mean hugs? It's sincerely, cordially. What is this hugs at closing sentence?
That's not a millennial, that's a Gen Z, because hugs, nigga, we'll slap that. I'll slap it.
Hugs?
Anybody who work for me, write that shit, I'm slapping that off the paper.
What is
Hugs.
this?
different standards. Now, Adonna has filed more than 10 police reports claiming sexual assault or harassment against other men, including at least one other professional athlete. But after the Scottsdale police completed their investigation into her claim against me, she's the one being indicted for felony fraud. Not just against me, against another man as well. She made up bogus
men.
sexual assault claims and attempted to extort him too. That gets worse. In my lawsuit against her, we subpoenaed a witness whom she knew for relevant documents to use in our case. And when she found out, she immediately made sexual assault claims against him, too.
Oh
The
my god!
memo is clear. Lie to men to get their money, extort them if she must, and when they refuse to pay, stop paying, or stop giving her what she wants, go to the police, accuse them of sexual assault, and file a civil suit against them to retaliate.
Oh my
And just so
god.
no one can say, well, he still has 2 other accusers. Just because the first 2 are complete frauds doesn't mean the others are. Here's a couple facts about them. They both had lawyers first demand in excess of $3 million to not go public.
Yeah.
In both cases, only after I refused to pay any sum of money did the lawyers make anonymous claims in the media. They both had the opportunity to file a criminal complaint against me.
Nope.
Neither of them did.
Never.
They both had the opportunity to file a civil suit against me. Neither of them did. They both had the opportunity to participate in Lindsey Hill's civil suit against me. They could have even done so anonymously. They both refused. One of them
They
even
had
submitted a
nothing.
statement to the court stating that she never made public accusations against me. The other refused to participate so vehemently that Lindsey Hill took legal action against her, trying to force her to participate. She still refused.
Yep.
So they both had the opportunity to testify under penalty of perjury. Neither of them did. One can only wonder why. Perhaps because
Right, because they didn't want to join in your fucking lies. You're lying, trying to get money out of him. They know that. Because they know you're a whore, and they know that's what you do. And so they don't want to go to jail for 5 years for perjury for supporting your dog shit.
I just don't understand how liars are working nowadays. Like, how are they working? Because liars are getting caught left and right, especially because they don't have any proof.
They don't care, bro. They don't care. Enough of their lies are still getting through. You know, see that girl got a lawsuit out against Drewski and Odell Beckham Jr.?
Yeah, I think it's gonna flop though.
It is, but she filed it anyway. We're talking about it. It exists. It's something they have to defend and pay for. Fucking with people's lives for no
all of
reason.
their claims against me are lies. Now, it's been 2 years since these women and their lawyers attempted to weaponize anonymous claims in the media against me to take my money. I addressed them at the time, and as far as I'm concerned, it's in the past. But if there comes a time in the future where I need to defend myself further, I will not hesitate to do so.
Good.
For now, there's no reason to speak further on this topic, though, because outside of Adana, who's now been indicted with felony fraud, there are no claims against me. No ongoing investigations and no outstanding lawsuits. At this point, I'm not sure what else I can possibly do to prove my innocence in all this. I did not do what I was accused of. And every institution that our society is entrusted to rule on issues like these, like courts, judges, law
Police.
enforcement officers, prosecutors, they all agree with me.
Yeah.
They've rejected every single claim made against me,
Good.
even going as far as charging one of my accusers with a felony.
Good.
If any evidence of any of these claims actually existed, I would have been charged, or at the very least arrested. But that never happened. What else do I have to do to prove that this entire situation has been a massive lie?
Now the thing is that some people don't care about that. It's just believe victims. Why would you not believe a victim? What do you mean? Of course we have to believe everything they say at all times for any reason.
It's just the image that it holds, and that's what sucks. Because the image that is pertained by other people that they try to put onto other people might not be true, and obviously it isn't in his case, but yet it still holds that weight for men, and this is why I hate that shit. This is why I hate false allegations of great...
Because it ruined his career.
Right.
Even though he ultimately proved his innocence, it's like people don't care about that.
No.
And what something people used to say with respect to like defamation and stuff like that is like the initial article is always louder than the retraction. Mm-hmm. So just because when they accuse you, it's everywhere. Bow, bow, bow.
Yep.
Trevor Bauer's an abuser. He's a toucher. When she gets charged with something, when the girl's text gets shown and prove that she's lying, cases are dismissed. That shit in the bottom.
Mm-hmm. No one hears about it.
No one hears about it. So there are people out there still believing that Trevor Bauer has 2 accusers.
Yep.
And those accusers have been intimidated, and we need to believe the victims. That's people are going with.
And that's the image that he holds based off of that, and now he can't even possibly find a job because of it, because of this.
Yeah.
This is what pisses me off. It ruins men's livelihood.
And for nothing. The thing is, it's very difficult sometimes to prove, in certain circumstances, if you set it up right, to prove that you did not do something.
Right.
Right? Someone says you did something, right? How do you prove you didn't do it?
Right.
How do you, how do you actually prove you did not do it?
The crazy part is someone can just simply say it without any proof, and then everybody's just up in arms.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like if he didn't have the text messages from the first girl, or the text messages from the second girl, how would he prove he didn't do it?
Right.
They just made this shit up. If they weren't so sloppy to be texting bullshit everywhere, then making up false claims later, if they thought about how to set him up for 2 seconds, they would have got away with it. Huh? Rat fucking behavior, all of this. They should bury you under the jail. I've said this every time. Whatever time that the person you accuse would get for the crime you accuse them of, you should do that time.
Plus taxing on other.
Facts. And it's the same thing for money. You sued me for how much money? However money that you think the people should have awarded you, he should get that from you because you're bugging out.
Yeah.
It's rat behavior. Bring out the guillotine expeditiously.